right, welcome to the Legacy of Luxury podcast here. My co-host, editor-in-chief, Nick Constantino, is in the background today. He'll be narrating.
We're really in the background.
There he is. So I'll be taking a little bit of the lead here, and I am thrilled to be joined by Noam, who is sitting in the lovely potential 51st state of Canada. No political ads here. But Noam, thanks for joining us. They're from Noam Carver, Crown Ring, a vendor that we'll get into that Salomon Brothers has been with a lot. But, Noam, maybe introduce yourself to the audience, tell them who you are, your name, kind of what you do, what you love to do, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, long story. I'll try and shorten it a bit. But my name is Noam Carver. I am a designer. I'm based in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And I've been designing jewelry for about 22 years now. I was born into the industry, and I had a passion early on and a dream to one day become an internationally recognized, renowned jewelry designer. So I've worked from day one to fulfill that dream through peaks and valleys. And, it's been an incredible journey, and the journey always feels like it's just getting started. So, I'm happy to share my story and my experiences. Super, honored to be on this talk and to be able to work with Salomon Brothers. As you start out, you kind of hear of these big industry names, big like retailers that you dream and aspire that one day they carry your line. And to be here sitting with you, Jaron, and to be one of your featured designers is a dream come true. I'm honored, and it's a great thing to be here, and I look forward to many more years of continued success and growth.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for saying that. It's very kind words. Shout out founder Ivan Salomon of Salomon Brothers Jewelers. I'm just the son here, not to screw it up. And, so it's great to bring you into the fold, into the company and making our company great. We're having a spotlight month here in the month of August for a Noam Carver month. We've got some really cool things coming down the pipe. But just to go back for a quick second, I think our listeners will find this interesting. If you can talk about, were you sketching like on a napkin? Is that the story? Talk about the little design. Talk about how old you were, maybe when you created your first design. How does designing work? I mean, I'm not a designer, so I'm curious myself. How did it begin?
Well, my parents were in the industry, and I was able to get a glimpse of that industry when I was really young. We used to travel. I saw some trade shows. I witnessed the industry, and I saw these big designer brands, and that sparked an interest early on. And, I had ideas. I just didn't know how to execute and to create. So I was fortunate to meet this Italian master craftsman in Montreal. And I started an apprenticeship at the age of 18. For those that don't know, Montreal, kind of similar to New York, has a storied history of jewelry fabrication. Henry Burks and Sons was established in the 1800s in Montreal, in Phillips Square, exactly where I first apprenticed. So working under Paolo Venna, which was my apprentice's name, we focused on hand carving, wax carving. This was before 3D design, 3D printing, right. CAD work was invented, and he was an expert in sculpture and hand carving. We would start with a block of wax and carve out a ring, create all these intricate designs. It was a very challenging experience to learn and master, but you start with takes you 10 times to make a ring, and then 9 times, and then 8 times, and you work your way down to kind of trying to hone the skill. I wouldn't say master it, but be proficient enough that you can start working and designing along with wax carving.
So just for our listeners out there, you can physically make a ring. I mean, you physically are a jeweler.
Yes, I am a trained jeweler through wax carving, metalwork. Years later, I learned AutoCAD 3D design, which propelled my skill level to another degree. Being able to apply engineering principles into the design process was a really exciting, addition. But all the while growing up in Montreal, while I was mastering my craft, I would take small private commissions and design engagement rings, to help pay the bills and, pay my rent and survive. And, I developed a knack for designing kind of contemporary cool engagement rings for that Montreal clientele. And the Montreal clientele is a well-traveled, sophisticated, fashion-forward clientele, and it was really a formative experience designing one-on-one with customers, which years later has paid incredible dividends because, I'm not a designer who works in a bubble. I'm a designer who's always worked one-on-one with the customer. And when you work one-on-one with the customer, you really are at the cutting edge of what trends are and what's evolving because you're designing in collaboration rather than designing what I think is nice. So, as you know, Jaron, like when I come to a trade show, a trunk show at the store, and I'm working one-on-one with customers, I'm able to design on the spot. It's something really unique for our industry.
It sure is. I mean, people need to, just to again highlight the point and make it clear, people need to understand that there's designers and then there's actually jewelers and people that can manufacture, and you're both, which is really cool and really unique. And you're kind of, would you say, I mean, I think in a unique spot where you took on from, hand carving wax and, to the AutoCAD to being able to create tons and tons of designs in a moment's notice. I mean, there's not many people that really are doing what you do. They either grew up on the computer and has never gotten their hands dirty, or they only get their hands dirty and they know nothing about the computer. Is that kind of fair to say?
Yeah. I got my hands dirty and a little bloody. But yeah, you know what? It's like every person in this world has a talent. Every person has a special talent. And, you have to be blessed in life to be able to discover it and know where your strengths are. And, I know my strength is in design and, generating ideas. My challenge was always executing them. So I knew I had these great ideas when I was starting out, but I just didn't know how to create them. So that started that journey, that long journey of learning and trying to master from wax to metalwork and then CAD. When I switched to CAD, I would still go back to wax because I felt more comfortable carving than working on the computer. And that took a while until now I'm more comfortable on the computer than I was on CAD and on wax. Throughout all these challenges, it's like, you have to put yourself in the fire, right?
Sure.
A couple of years later, after I was apprenticing, I wanted to go back to university, and I saw myself having a path in jewelry. But so I was like, you know what? Let me learn something for fun, for interest. So I went into the arts program, and I studied sculpture. I did a degree in sculpture and contemporary art, which was like completely left center from jewelry. But again, I threw myself into an uncomfortable environment. It was a challenge. It was a struggle, but it opened up my eyes to a whole other world of art and design that I would never have experienced had I not faced that hurdle.
Yeah, that's amazing. And now fast forwarding to today, let's talk about the company that you're at, the highlight here at Solomon Brothers, the entire month of August. Of course, we sell it throughout the year, but Noam Carver specifically, a link to Crown Ring as well. Talk about kind of where you're at now, what this company is, where it's made out of, where's the manufacturing. Talk a little bit about the process, because you're designing now, you went from one-on-one with the customer of one customer, one ring, and now it's hundreds of rings. Talk about the process, the company, the logistics.
So, you can only do so much with two hands. I was very fortunate to link up with a company out of Montreal called Crown Ring, which was a wedding band manufacturer. From early on, we had the shared vision of building brands and growing. I brought a component to them, design, jewelry fabrication, which they didn't have. They were more on the CNC machine making men's wedding band world. They had infrastructure, which I did not have. They had sales reps. They had a great office. They had a manufacturing facility. Through, again, peaks and valleys, we ended up, aligning our visions and creating a line that really worked, which started off with Bridal. And it gave me the foundation to launch, right? So, you might have worked with Crown Ring before you even knew Noam Carver. So there was an invitation, there was an open door there that I could show you my collection. You still have to like it. It still has to be appealing, but there was a door open that Crown provided me to take my brand, my vision to the next level.
Yeah, that's so cool. And getting into the U.S. market, right? You kind of talked a little bit about Canada. I think a lot of people would equate, the Canadian taste a little bit to, the French taste, right? And the European taste. And so I think you had a lot of, very bespoke type pieces and things that really people could appreciate from a design perspective. But when you came into the American market, into the US, I'm in the South, right, in Atlanta, Georgia. Did you find a real difference in terms of the styles that people liked in Canada versus in America?
It's funny, not really. Not at all, actually, because Montreal is unique in its own right. But Canada and the rest of Canada and America are very similar. Like
Sure.
Western Canada is more like Southern America. Toronto is a big metropolitan city, just like the Midwest you'd find. So there's a lot of similarities into buying customer habits and trends. And also with the advent of social media, globalized, trends. So a girl's looking at a ring in the southern tip of America to the northern tip of Canada are seeing the same things, right? And
Yeah.
so that really kind of blended and, unified trends across North America. Where I'll say there's still a stark difference is when you cross the Atlantic and you land in Europe. Europe is a completely different animal, different approach to bridal, different styles. But in terms of like Canada and the US, it's a North American market and there's a
Yeah.
lot of similarities there.
What would you say? I mean, I think the listeners would find it fascinating. What is the difference between a European engagement ring and an American engagement ring in your eyes?
Yeah. Well, okay, so historically it was engagement rings weren't popular at all. It was wedding bands. So a couple would get married, they would get matching wedding bands. And like the man would have like a 4 or 5 millimeter and the woman would have a 2 millimeter and it would be a set. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, since diamonds became popular and globalized, still there's a huge divide there. Well, where the most popular, I would say the most popular center stone size in Europe, are you sitting? I would say is about a 1/4 carat.
Okay, listeners, that is 0.25 of a carat. Okay, that is
0.25.
1/4 of 1 carat. So that
Exactly.
is fascinating.
Some of the more adventurous brides will go for a 33 pointer, third of a diamond, third of a carat. But that is one of the major differences you see in Europe. In America, North America, women love their diamonds. They love their bling.
That's right.
You know, it's a great thing for us. Just because it gives us more freedom to design and create
Right.
and innovate.
That's so cool.
Uh,
Well, yeah, listen, we're excited here at Solomon Brothers to have the spotlight on Noam Carver himself. Super cool to be sitting here with you today and, having you as our spotlight performer for the month of August here at Solomon Brothers. And, you have designed for us a little sneak to the audience here, but we have a very cool board coming out with all shapes, all sizes, all thicknesses. Truth be told, the collection that I wanted to ask you about, though, if you can tell the audience a little bit, is about the Luna collection. That has been doing extremely well here at Solomon Brothers. I think it's been doing well around North America. If you can talk about kind of the Luna collection and, where that came from.
yeah, it's amazing. Like flash forward to today, I have like several different collections in the bridal world. Each have their own position. And like every year you come up with new designs and by the end you're done designing, you're like, what is there left? I've designed it all. And then a new year starts and new ideas start trickling in and like it's like and it starts over again. But then Luna came into existence, which Crown Ring had acquired this patent, which is it's a patent on the interior of a ring. So the inside is this pillow patent that is quite novel because it offers minimal points of contact on the finger, creates more airflow, it reduces humidity and swelling, and has a really nice feel to it. So it's amazing that at this stage in our career, like we can still find something novel that is like, it's like we never thought of that. Unbelievable. But we were very lucky to get my hands on this patent. And, I wanted to re-innovate and re-modernize it. So I created the brand called Luna. It's a collection featuring this interior patent. And, each of my collections have its own world, whereas Noam Carver Bridal is bridal for the modern bride, and it's your everyday styles, trend-setting styles. The Atelier collection is a little more, geared for larger center stones. It's a little bit of a more robust setting, a little thicker mountings, but,
Yeah.
very high end, very luxurious. As I kind of, again, working with customers and seeing trends, I saw the bridal world veering towards gold as a
Yeah.
predominant color, wider bands from which we used to see thin and dainty pave settings to
Right.
free form styles, curved settings, wider cigar bands. So I was like, you know what? Timing is right. Luna, yellow gold, wider
Yeah.
trends. Let's focus on this, launch this line. And,
Amazing.
a whole new merchandising kind of experience, new displays. I created a display and I showed it to my team and they're like, what are you doing? It's crazy. It's like, it's not going to work. I'm like, trust me, trust the process. It's something completely different. And,
Okay.
we're very blessed that, it launched with, it was an incredible launch, incredible experience. The
Yeah.
Luna category is exploding. It's like it's amazing when you can go into a jewelry store, you can pick a piece of a ring that you like the style, and then you try it on, and it actually has a feature that you feel, through that Luna patent, and
Yeah.
so all those elements create something truly unique in the Luna collection.
Right. No, that's great. Yeah, we've been doing great with it. We love it. I want to leave some time for questions here, so I'm going to call in the best editor in chief in the business, Nick. We got some questions from the audience that we asked people to kind of send in, comment on through social media and through the pod. So let's hear them.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we got a couple of questions. I got one myself because we haven't exactly covered legacy yet, which is super important to the name of this podcast. And then we got one for some listeners. Interesting questions. I think it shows kind of the uncertainty in the industry and like the fear for what's ahead with the price fluctuation. So let's hit it. So the first one, we're going to get a little froofy, but it is, what does legacy mean to each of you in the context of jewelry, both second gen? How important is this legacy into the future of the industry and the way you design and the way you sell and the way you curate the experiences?
Yeah, well, I'll start with the manufacturer and then I'll take the sales side of it.
Yeah, so listen, I want to, like, from day one, my dream of building an international brand. And, and what is, here, I'll tell you something interesting. I was listening to this great podcast and they were talking about, the
Oh, the
idea.
legacy of luxury, of course.
Of course, I was listening to another second best podcast.
Thank you. As long as we're clear.
They were talking about like luxury versus premier, a premier brand versus a luxury brand. And, I always thought like, oh, I want to be a luxury brand, right? But like, what's a luxury brand? A luxury item is something that people will pay more than what the value is, right? Like a designer purse. Now, the sum of its parts might be $300, but the purse is 3,000. What's a premier brand? A premier brand is an item, a product that has a premier price, but comes with premier value, right? Like they gave an example of like a BMW. It's an expensive car, but what you're getting is the peak of German engineering. You're getting like a, incredible interior design, so a number of elements. And then so listening to that, it dawned on me. I was like, you know what? I want to be a premier brand because I want to offer our customers a premier product that has value to them, value to us, that, with our incredible service, with our warranties, with our designs and innovation, customers truly feel like they are getting a premier value in the products they purchase. Because, it's, that's the legacy I would like to build, where our brand name is known for quality and service and design and innovation, and that innovation, that beauty, that legacy translates to the end user, the customer who buys a ring, which is probably the most important piece of jewelry they'll ever own, and is worn every single day, is a symbol of their love and their meaning, and passes down from generation to generation. So the legacy is transient, and that's my dream, and that's what we aspire to.
Yeah. So yeah, Noam stole a little bit of the end consumer piece there for me, but legacy certainly for me, not only carrying on our family name, right? And my dad started this. I'm in it. I've got family, below me as well, my kids, my nieces, my nephews. So certainly there's a legacy as far as the name goes, but what legacy truly means to me and what I need from Noam Carver and what I need from my designers and what I need from my manufacturers is to make sure that they are representing us in the right way. So I'm giving that bride a ring. And Noam, like you just said, it needs to be of great quality. It needs to be a premier piece, and it needs to be an item that not only has tremendous value, that's one thing, but the legacy of it is that it will hold up over time. My kids every single day see my wife's ring on her finger. That's something that she wears every single day. And my daughter's going to grow up and, one day, please God, my wife will, pass that ring down to her one day, and I'll probably have to get her a bigger one when she does that. But, it'll be that item. I mean, that's what jewelry means to me. That's what legacy means to me. And so it's really about passing down those pieces of jewelry, but you can't do that unless you have a quality piece. So that really speaks to what we're talking about today in the craftsmanship, because without it, nobody wants to pass down things that fall apart. So that's what legacy on this topic means for me.
Yeah, I love it. So, Jaron, the good news is our listeners are much more educated. This is a very complex question, so I'm going to kind of summarize it. But the long and short of it are wild. You go online and they're selling you rings for nothing and they have all these bombastic prices. It's talking about some of the trust has been eroded from the industry. And I think lab-grown diamonds play a lot with that, because something that used to cost 20 grand, they're like, it's $800 now. The summation of the question is, how do you approach building trust with a new generation of buyers? And I think it's hyper relevant to both sides, because I think with the dollar amounts of what we're selling, trust is paramount here. But trust isn't as easy as it used to be with running radio ads. There's a lot more involved here. So, Jaron, why don't you start? But how do you approach building trust with a brand new generation of consumers?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just not compromising, on your morals. And I'll throw this part to Noam in terms of the manufacturers. But, there is very cheap ways to do things in order to get the pricing down and try not to fight the trend of what you're saying, right? Of, oh, this is worth a lot less now. It should be less. Well, you know what? I'm not going to compromise on what we do, right? We're not going to sell, less than 14 karat gold, right? We're not going to sell something that is cold casting and this, that, and the other. So, and I'll let Noam talk a little bit more about the manufacturing side of it. But this goes into the quality from the legacy question. But, it's all about sticking to what we do and sticking to our processes and the standards that we have for jewelry in the store. Okay, a lab-grown diamond, no problem. It's a lab-grown diamond, it's a natural diamond, they're both a diamond, but the ring that it's going to go in, just because gold price is going crazy, doesn't mean all of a sudden we're going to start making it in silver. That's not what we do. That's not the type of, item to pass down from generation to generation. So, yeah, I don't know if this skirts the question. I'm not trying to go around it or anything, but we'll deal with lab-grown and natural pricing and whatnot where that's going to go. But from the jewelry side of things, I'm not going to all of a sudden lower my quality on the pieces that we carry just because the lab-grown diamond is $1,000. I'm not going down to get the setting price lower and lower because of that. We're going to stick to the manufacturing process that we do. And we can only do that with the vendors that we trust. So Noam, I'll talk, let you talk about your processes and what you're doing.
Well, I mean, there's just one thing to add to about the retail industry, like with the advent of the internet and online sales, and like the one thing that defied all that across so many industries is the independent retailer, jewelry retailer. Independent jewelry retail stores are stronger than ever. The internet was not able to cut a dent into them, because one of the most important things about purchasing your most important ring is reliability and service, and knowing that you have an establishment that can service this ring from year to year to year. So, it's a testament to our industry. It's really an incredible thing to see so many industries evolve in the last and completely change in the last decade, yet the traditional independent jewelry store is stronger than ever. And, customers really value having a name at the end of their ring. They know Jaron, they know your team, they know your sales team. They can walk in at any time they want, and they know they'll get the best service out of any product line they own across everything they do in life. So that, I think, is something that's really unique about our industry. Now, in terms of adding on to that is, you guys are the face of our brand, right? Customers are going into Solomon. They're seeing Noam Carver only through Solomon. So, you guys have to, you deal with customers, you have to deal with happy customers, sad customers, whatever it may be, but it's not like we don't hear it, right? So the sales staff are, our customers. And, like we work with you, Jaron, but, we work harder with your team because they got to love us. They got to know that they can rely on us. So if a ring needs a specific due date, if it needs some specific customizations, and there's a customer that has like really unique needs, they want to know that if they call Noam Carver, they will get everything they're asking for done for them in a timely manner. And, so that it kind of permeates from step to step, from industry to industry. And, it's something that you can't get around and is the foundation of our business.
Yeah, love it.
It's great.
Love it. So Noam, you did wonderful. That was the exact right answer. Jaron, unfortunately, you had the incorrect answer. The correct answer was I hired the best damn chief marketing officer in the world to fulfill that obligation for me. So now that we're clear on that, let's proceed to our last question. So again, I'm going to summate this one because it can go for long, but what do you believe to be the most important evolution coming to the luxury jewelry market in the next 5 to 10 years? So obviously we could talk forever about the changes, but what do you think in the next 5, 10 years is going to really shake it up? What do you think of the next evolution that's going to really be a big point in this industry?
It's like, I don't know. I think the way I've seen it evolve is been gradual. Like, I don't know how like AI is going to upend the jewelry business because rings still need to be made. They still need to be customized. Brides still want diamonds. So like, it's like the way I see it as a designer is every year I'm trying to innovate in terms of product design, quality design, and that's my form of innovation. I don't know. I don't see anything really disrupting that process. Yeah, that's my perspective. I think steady slow.
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's a really tough question. And I'll take it from I'm a stone guy, right? So I'll kind of be he's the ring guy. I'm a little bit of the stone guy. And for me, it's all about, I think the future is going to hold a much higher appreciation for colored diamonds. They're getting rarer and rarer and rarer. And there's not enough for everybody. There's not enough to go around. And although that price point is crazy, there's also been nobody willing to dive into it and sell. Noam talked about Europe, the other, a quarter carat, a third of a carat, a half a carat. And I think that is the next evolution over time, that red diamond, blue diamond, pink diamond, we already do quite well with yellow diamond, even on the much smaller stones to have an entry level into that type of rarity. The reason why people don't do it is because they don't understand it yet. And I think with lab grown, what that's actually going to do is help people understand the rarity of natural even more in the process. But I'm not De Beers. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, white diamonds are going out and you're never going to find them again.
Well, Botswana is about to take control of De Beers, so that's a whole nother story for another time.
But that's the next episode.
I know I saw their king or president at JCK. Now I know why, which is wild.
But but the truth of the matter is, on that side. And then I think that a secondary part is if you look at colored gems, meaning sapphire, ruby, emerald, and you've seen how much those have gone up in value. I think value propositions are going to start mirroring its head, and all of a sudden size is not going to be the end all be all, and people will actually see the value. Again, in North America, it's already being done in Europe on the white diamond side, but I think here in the States, people will start to actually appreciate the rarity. And I think lab grown, this is my hot take, Nick, okay? Hot take here, 2025. I think that lab is actually going to help all of this come to the forefront. When the price of lab grown continues to fall, it's going to permeate the question of rarity and why natural is actually a really cool thing. Is that it's natural and that it is rare. People try to make other comparisons, but it's not relevant. Like, this is actually a pretty cool thing. Gold is no different, right? And we're seeing that right now. Platinum is already going up. So I just think people are going to understand the rarity and scarcity of it all. So.
Yeah, I love it. Look, you've both been great. I want to end with just simply, why should people listening to this come into Solomon Brothers in the month of August, shop our crown ring, Noam Carver special or Luna, and why they should come do it now and why now is the time?
Yeah, well, now is the time because we say it's the time. No, just listen, we
Because
honestly
we did this
because
podcast.
that's
Exactly.
why.
Not now,
No,
when?
we're just excited to highlight, right, Nick, Noam Carver, and honestly, it's kind of a coming moment here of Noam and what he's accomplished. We've got a lot of product in the case, so it's really time to come and see it. Take advantage of some deals that we're having during this month that we're spotlighting Noam and his entire product line. But the product line in Solomon Brothers has never been this robust. It's
Yeah.
never been this different. And so it's just that is why it's time to come in and see it, because you're actually going to see more than you've ever seen before. Everything that he mentioned, the Noam Carver for the Modern Bride, the Luna, the exclusive board just for Solomon Brothers that we'll be coming out with here in August on social media is just very exciting. So that's really why to check it out in August. You're going to get the best deals because we are highlighting it this month, and you're going to get incredible variety. So Noam,
The time is now.
I'm just very thankful, very appreciative of you, the team, the partnership. It's been wonderful, and
Likewise.
I'm excited to build this legacy together.
On that
Amazing.
note,
Yeah.
I think that's our end. So you've been listening to Legacy of Luxury. Noam, thank you. Jaron, thank you. And we
Thank
will
you,
catch
guys.
you next
Yeah.
time.